Hello, you beautiful legends, and welcome to another episode of Ben and Joel Reviews. I'm Ben.
And I'm Joel.
And this is the podcast where we discuss movies, TV shows, and theatre.
And whatever else we want.
So please, sit back, relax, and let's dive in.
Batman begins again.
The Batman begins. The beginning.
Is that where the intro came from?
My
God, Nolan's a genius.
God, he figured it out.
Welcome back.
Yes.
By the way, we're just jumping straight into this, but
We are.
Hello, listeners. We're still on Batman Begins because
Yes.
there's so much to go through in this
There
film.
really
It's
is.
so good.
So much to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, before we get into that, how has your week been?
It's been fine. It's been pretty good. How's your week been?
Yeah, not been too bad. Not been too bad. And to anyone listening, we hope you've had a decent week too.
Yes.
So,
That was a week? Between episodes?
we're recording 2 episodes literally right after each other, but we were trying to give the illusion that there have
Just
been
cut
week
this out.
breaks.
It's fine. Yeah. So where were we, Ben?
Well, we get our introduction to Jonathan Crane,
Also known as...
Scarecrow.
Oh, he's the Scarecrow. I was going to say Johnny.
Johnny?
Yeah.
Who's Johnny?
Jonathan. Johnny. You know Johnny.
Jonathan Crane, a.k.a. Johnny Boy.
He's friends with the...
Tiny Gary.
Oh, dear.
So he's representing Victor Zsasz.
Yeah, nice little name drop.
Yes.
Who I think they say that he's like an assassin for the mob. So does he work for Falcone?
I think, but I always thought that Victor Zsasz was a serial killer.
Yeah, but I think they kind of repurposed him for this. I think in the shorts that were released between Begins and Night, they do dive into him a bit more, and it is more closer to his origin. But after he's had a stint working for the mob.
Yeah.
So, and I think the idea is that when Carmine Falcone's people get arrested and put up in court, it's Crane's job to get them labelled as like insane.
Mm-hmm.
So that they can get off lightly. I assume that seems to be their arrangement. And I assume it's the same thing with Zsasz, is that we're going to plead insanity.
Yep.
Obviously, Crane has more nefarious reasons for doing this, but in Carmine's eyes, it's they can get out, they can get treated, get better, and be released back into society to commit more crimes.
Yeah.
Seems like the approach. Cillian Murphy.
Yes.
What a casting.
Oh, absolute perfect casting as Jonathan Crane. And it's so fascinating knowing that he auditioned for Batman.
Yeah, I've seen the reels of it, and it doesn't quite work for me, him in the bat suit, I'll be honest. I can see why he was someone who screen tested, but he's so much better as Crane. Weirdly, for university, there was a point in, I think it was just like the first year, where we had to sort of look at an actor's career specifically and write an essay based on their career.
Yeah.
And I chose Cillian Murphy and was talking about how little changes in his movement and his like little gestures can represent certain different things. And there was like obviously like a quite heavy focus on like Tommy Shelby.
Yeah.
But I did link it back to the Scarecrow, and there's Crane wears glasses, right? Mm-hmm. And I watched his scenes over and over and over again. Now I don't know if this is an exact one-to-one. This happens every time, but if you're thinking of Jonathan and Scarecrow as two different personas, when he's Jonathan, the glasses are on. When he's Scarecrow, the glasses come
are off.
off. And you can see the shift between the two personas based on when he moves. There's a couple of scenes in particular that kind of highlight that. But yeah, really interesting. If you're going to watch Batman Begins, having listened to the review, watch out for that. Watch the shift between Jonathan and Scarecrow with the glasses.
Yeah. It's like a Superman and Clark Kent situation.
Yeah, but sort of in reverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
puts the glasses on. Oh, Dr. Crane, thank God you were here. We just saw the Scarecrow. Takes the glasses off. It's Scarecrow!
Yeah, but also in the interim, if he's going full Scarecrow, he also has to put the mask on. So, like, it was just saying, like, in all this time, like, he's taken his glasses off, set them on the table, he's got the mask, he's got it over his head, he's got it in position, and he's like, ta-da, Scarecrow. This person's just oblivious, just staring off into the, like, oh, there's a fly in the room. Look, there it goes.
I would love it even more if that was genuinely how he introduced himself every single time. Do-do-do-do, Scarecrow!
Ta-da!
It just reminds me of that meme where Scarecrow's running from Batman.
Oh.
Robin's going, go get him, Bruce! He's getting away! And Scarecrow's going,
Oh, yeah, that is so good. Also, Zaz. It's a shame we didn't see more of him.
I was literally saying, I put on my notes in capital letters, why did they not do more with Zaz?
I think...
He's just kind of there.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, this is supposed to be like grounded, gritty, realistic Batman. And, okay, maybe going the full, really dark, grim serial killer isn't the most realistic, but it's more real than...
After...
Like, the Penguin?
I mean...
Well, maybe not the Penguin, maybe that's a bad example, but like Mr. Freeze and Clayface say...
I think Zaz in this universe is a lot more realistic than Ra's al Ghul leading a bunch of ninjas.
Yeah.
And I think a gritty serial killer is very realistic, especially after the bunch of documentaries I've been binge watching on Netflix recently. Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy.
How do you sleep at night?
The Yorkshire Ripper.
The thing is, Ben's been telling me about all this stuff that he's been watching, and he'll quite often be like, it can literally be anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone you know. And I'm like, you're trying to drop some hints. It's you, isn't it?
It is. No, I just find them so fascinating.
Yeah, and imagine applying that kind of logic to Zaz in a cinematic context as well.
Yeah.
Where you kind of see his entire backstory. Like, I'm not saying what happened with Jeffrey Dahmer is like a backstory. It actually happened.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, applying that kind of logic to a character like Victor Zaz, then yeah, okay, I suppose it could be really, like, grounded and realistic. I think that would be a shoo-in for the Nolan verse.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. Yeah, I just kind of wish... I mean, he doesn't even have a single line of dialogue in it.
No, which is a crying shame.
Because he's a great character. He's so disturbed. Like, even just one little scene where he has a little confrontation with Batman.
Yeah, would have been nice.
Would have been really good.
Imagine in like a film styled like Seven.
Ooh, I mean, they kind of have done that with the most recent Batman movie, where, you know, the Batman is trying to track down the Riddler, he's trying to solve these murders and whatnot. There are moments in that are very reminiscent to Seven. And then there was the whole thing about Warner Brothers released a deleted scene from the Batman, where Batman goes to Arkham Asylum and he speaks to the Joker, trying his best to get some information about the Riddler, and how that scene was very reminiscent to Clarice going to see Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs to get info about a different serial killer. So while it was done in that Batman movie, which I did really appreciate and like, I completely agree with you as well. Like, doing that with a criminal like Victor Zaz, I think makes a lot more sense. But obviously, I don't know, maybe Warner Brothers were looking at that and were like, well, Zaz isn't as big of a villain as someone like the Riddler.
Yeah, and also you've got to take into account how dark Victor Zaz actually is.
I would love to see an R-rated Batman movie.
Yeah.
Where he goes after Zaz.
I think that would be amazing. And, you know, like Deadpool and, you know, the first was it R-rated?
Yeah.
For Marvel, Deadpool and Wolverine, you know, kind of proves that there is a market for that kind of thing.
Oh, 100%. Well, technically, no, actually, Deadpool wasn't the first R-rated Marvel movie.
No?
Blade.
Oh, of course, yeah. But, like, I mean, in a franchise and something that'll... Well, man, Blade was a franchise.
Yeah, it was a trilogy.
Sequels.
Yeah.
Idiot. But, you know, there is a market for it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It can definitely work.
But for... Warner Brothers are probably looking at Batman, you know, it's a bit of a cash cow for them. So they want him to appeal to as wider audience as possible.
Yeah.
So putting a limitation like an R rating on their film by using a character as dark as Zaz is probably a no-go for them.
Oh, what am I saying? The Batman is R-rated.
No, is it?
It's a 15. I've got it on Blu-ray. It's a 15.
Where is it? Ben's DVD shelf is here.
Yeah, well, we're trying to find it. It's there somewhere. But yeah, it's rated 15.
I can see a bat symbol, but that's the Arkham collection and the Telltale games. I'm going to find it. I want to see it with my own eyes.
But yeah, the most recent Batman movie is rated R. It's in the UK, it is rated 15. Because obviously there is some strong language in it. There are some scenes in it that are a little disturbing.
There's a different so the British rating of 15 and 18 just comes under the R bracket for America.
I believe so, yeah.
That's weird.
And then if it's under 15, like a 12 PG, in America they call it PG-13. So like a movie, if it's PG, then it's just PG. But if it's here, it's a 12 or a 12A. That's really
interesting that we seem to have more certifications, different ratings.
Yeah.
To allow more audience, basically. So like, okay, like a 15 sort of bars a certain amount, certain demographic, but then allows another demographic versus an 18, which bars everyone below a certain age.
Yep.
I don't know. I find that really fascinating.
I think the BBFC are a lot. I think they're a lot more strict than the MPAA. I think that's right.
NPAA,
the American one.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
So yeah, well, even though the Batman is R-rated, I would like to see a Batman movie with a stronger R rating. So in the UK, if it's rated 18, a very like graphic, gnarly Batman movie where he's going after Zsasz as he's committing these really horrific, grotesque killings.
Yeah. I know the perfect villain if we're going to do an 18-rated Batman movie. It's Kite Man.
That's not an actual villain, is it?
Yeah. Actually, again, I don't know loads and loads about comics. I just have like bits of nuggets of information. Tom King's The War of Jokes and Riddles.
Yes.
Have you read it?
I know of it.
Great read. It changes. It's a bit of a retcon for like the Batman chronology, but I really like it, and it pits the Joker and the Riddler against each other, which is really cool. But then there's like teams of villains, and all the villains in Gotham kind of pick a side. But then they create. I can't remember. I think he's on Joker's side originally, and then switches towards the end. Sorry, spoilers. But it's Kite Man, and Kite Man already existed as like a D-list Batman villain. You know, someone ridiculous and kind of appeared in, I think, in the Golden Age or the Silver Age maybe. So he's a bit of a joke villain, and always has a take him out of him. And so that was the intent. I think the Joker creates him as a joke. It's like, yeah, we're just gonna with this guy's life and make him Kite Man for the of it. But then he actually turns out to be like a pretty heavy hitter in the end. And so like kudos for like Tom King who wrote this for making Kite Man a really good villain. Yeah, read The War of Jokes and Riddles. Fantastic. All of Tom King's run on Batman is great, so give it all a read.
Fascinating. See, if I was to cast Victor Zsasz in like a really strong R-rated Batman movie, I'd cast Sean Harris.
Sean Harris. I can't picture the face.
British actor. Mm-hmm. He played a very dodgy drug dealer in Harry Brown.
Oh, I know who you mean. Yes, I agree.
He'd be a great Victor Zsasz.
Yes.
So yeah, overall, I thought Zsasz was very underused in this.
But he also serves to, the link between Crane and Falcone and moving, his arrested... Falcone, sorry. Arresting his men, putting them in the asylum for less sentences. Yeah. It speaks to that. At the end of the last episode, or towards the end, we talked about the writing thing of the four characters and every scene having a link. Yep. We've had, links to Ra's al Ghul and Falcone, and then Falcone and Crane and Falcone and Crane and Batman and Falcone and Batman and it's just insane how well written it is, and those four characters are just the cornerstones of this plot.
Yeah, no, definitely. Bruce is at his home, he's at the mansion, and he's looking through photographs of, Falcone and Jonathan Crane and
Tiny Gary.
Is
it a tiny photo? It's fit in his wallet.
It's a Polaroid.
Batman keeps a Polaroid of Tiny Gary in his wallet at all times when he's fighting crime. That's cute.
You say it's cute. It kind of makes me a bit weird.
I carry a photo of you in my wallet.
Gordon just searches Batman, finds a Polaroid of him in his pocket. Why do you have a Polaroid of me in your back pocket, you strange man?
It's my lover, Barbara. Anyway,
Bruce then hears a bat, and he sees a bat flying in the corner, to which Alfred's like, oh yeah, I think they nest underneath the ground, sir. And Bruce is sort of contemplating, he's staring in the corner, and he's thinking, nesting under the mountain, Under the mountain.
Under the mountain.
Under the mountain.
That was at the start, Ben.
Oh, I'm getting things mixed up.
So we meet Ra's al Ghul. We're going back. Sorry, guys. Bruce is in prison.
Start the film all over again. They are nestling under the ground, you say. And he walks back to the well. The well! The well! The lab!
That's a personal joke and you're not allowed context.
Just a little inside joke. The lab! The lab! And Bruce climbs his way through, and to which he discovers the cave.
Yeah. So before, in the previous part, I did think the kind of idea of becoming a bat as a symbol was a slow burn. But if there is a moment that he decides that he's going to become a bat as the symbol, this is the moment.
Yeah.
Kind of reflective of Batman Shaman, which is kind of very similar to Year One from the Legends of the Dark Knight run.
Yes.
Very good. I will make this recommendation just kind of offhand. If you want to kind of see some kind of cool and kooky kind of Batman early days stuff,
Yeah.
Legends of the Dark Knight.
Oh,
Just great. Loads of different one-off stories or sort of 4 or 5 part stories. There's loads of stuff in there. There's Venom, which I told you about recently.
Yep.
Which is like a precursor to Bane and gets Bruce.
yeah, just to give more context, it's not Venom as in the Marvel character.
No,
There is a comic.
Called
it's
Venom.
called Venom, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's about Batman using the venom that
Bane uses.
goes on to
yeah,
use.
So it's like a precursor to Bane. There's a Prey, which is what introduces Hugo Strange. That's a really good story that I've been crafting something based on that for a while. Loads of cool stuff in there. There's some great stories. There's some weird stories. There's some rubbish stories, and you kind of get an all-encompassing look of what Batman's mythos is like, especially in the early days.
Yeah.
Would recommend.
So Batman crawls his way into the cave, and he's looking around, and he sees all of the bats that are nesting in the cave.
Yeah, all practical, because you know what Nolan's like. I actually know that for a fact. I'm just...
No, they're definitely CGI. They're definitely CGI. There's no way they would have been able to train those bats to just fly around Christian Bale and to just have Christian Bale stand there.
I imagine they would have had maybe a few on set for him to react to, maybe, and then the rest are CGI, and they track the motion of the bats as a swarm on these few bats, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, it's possible. I can't help but think it's just Christian Bale standing in this cave set, and he's acting the way he is when the bats are flying around him, and then they just CGI all the bats around him.
Yeah, which would be a testament to his acting. Or maybe we should look into that and see whether that is the case.
Yeah. Do you imagine you come in on, you walk onto set, it's quite early in the morning, you see, morning to all the crew, morning Christopher, where do you want me? I'm in costume and makeup. All right, Christian, you're just going to stand here, okay? And then once I yell action, a swarm of bats are going to fly around you. Oh, yes, yeah, so do you want to imagine... No, Christian, we actually have a swarm of bats.
And they're here right now.
And action! Wait, what?
Imagine springing that on someone unannounced. That'd be absolutely mental.
Christian Bale's just himself.
It's bats. I love Halloween. Have you seen that Vine?
No.
It's bats. I love Halloween. Great. I miss Vine. Sorry, very off topic.
I love the design of the Batcave. I mean, obviously, it's designed to just look like a cave.
Yeah.
But I just like how it looks.
I like how, not cobbled together, but kind of how DIY it looks when it's complete.
Yeah.
I really like that. Because, this is Batman Begins, so of course it's Batman's early days. So he doesn't quite have all the infrastructure and all of that kind of stuff. So it is just a few computers and benches.
Some lights.
And, yeah, industrial grade, building site lights and, floodlights. I really like how it looks, the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
Cables running everywhere. It's really cool.
Yeah. And then Bruce, as we were saying, he sees the swarm of bats. They all come flying down. At first he cowers, but then he realises, no, I need to face my fear. He's very calmly standing back up with his eyes closed, and he just stands there as the bats are flying around him. Could say he was getting quite aroused.
Oh my god. Just some nut.
No, Christian! Stop it! That's how the pandemic started!
Rachel! We also have... after that, a little conversation between Crane and Falcone reaffirms that their kind of relationship.
Yeah. Just very quickly, just right during the moment where the bats are swarming around him, and we hear the Batman theme.
Oh my god, yeah,
in
how
all
could I
its
not
glory.
mention that? Yes.
So good.
That score by
Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard.
yes, informed cinema as a whole
Oh,
for like years to come.
I mean, you hear that music, you instantly know where it's from.
The strings, the like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, like the kind of like pounding drums, like
Yeah.
and even like the blaring horns, like the ship. But like, yeah, they were like being serious for like a moment. The like, oh my god, how do I do this without sounding ridiculous?
Just do it, darling.
It's always a two-tone. It's like dun, dun,
Yeah.
like that, right? That after this film came out, cropped up in so many things.
Yep.
So many things. I mean, it's Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard for sake. Like, they are fantastic. I'm personally more of a Zimmer fan.
Yeah, I like James Newton Howard.
I will quite frequently, when I'm like at home and writing or like doing chores or even at work, sometimes, not that I'm supposed to, if I'm doing stuff that doesn't require me to interact with people, I'll put my headphones in to kind of concentrate, and quite frequently it's a Hans Zimmer soundtrack. The man is just a genius.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he can write music and compose something, a complete piece, when he's bored
Yeah,
is ridiculous.
yeah. I don't know what kind of mystical spell was cast for him to have such abundances of talent.
Yeah.
But I want some.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I'm not very musically minded. Like, you know, I can appreciate music, but, you know, I couldn't tell you about scales and notes and
Yeah.
any of that stuff. But I know a good track when I hear it.
Oh, yeah.
And for the entire trilogy, and obviously it's not just Zimmer, it's James Newton Howard as well. All of it is just so iconic, and it really informed the industry moving forward.
We then get a scene between Scarecrow and Falcone.
Yes, which is where we kind of get a bit more exposition about how the shipments work.
Yeah, and we slowly find out, even though it's not said outright, you can clearly figure out that Crane works for Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, there's like, he's coming to Gotham,
Yeah.
it's said. So there's a hierarchy of villainy.
Yep.
Ra's at the top, Scarecrow is the middleman, Falcone at the bottom.
Yeah.
But Falcone thinks he's at the top.
Yeah, because Scarecrow says to him, he says, I know you don't find me very intimidating, Mr. Falcone, but you know who I work for.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be very happy when he gets in. Falcone's like, he's coming to Gotham?
Yeah. It's interesting how that power play works between all three villains. I just think it's really, really interesting.
Very interesting. We then get Bruce's return to Gotham.
Yeah.
And he returns to Wayne Enterprises in possibly the most badass way.
Yeah. It just rocks up to Wayne Enterprises.
Yeah.
Goes to the desk. He's like, oh yeah, what does he say? I'm like here for a meeting.
Yeah, something like that.
The one behind the desk goes, what name? Or say something.
Yeah,
something
she
like,
goes,
"What
name? He goes, Bruce Wayne.
How badass is that? And like the
So
look
cool.
on her face when she looks up.
She's just in shock.
Like, he's returned to public life, and the persona is already on. Like, he's there to cause chaos,
Yeah.
but in a way that kind of protects his identity as Batman.
Yep.
The persona is already up, because he doesn't just go into the board meeting.
No.
He starts playing golf with the secretary.
Well, yeah.
Outside.
What's really interesting, yeah, it cuts to the meeting and Rutger Hauer is trying to call his assistant in, who's called Jessica, and she's not answering. He's like, Jessica! And she goes back, he goes out and he's like, why is no one answering the phone? And Bruce, he's got his arms wrapped around her from behind and he's like teaching her golf. For some reason, I couldn't help but think to myself as I was watching that, I'm like, you can clearly tell this is a comic book movie, because in this movie, she's very comfortable and clearly quite attracted to him. In reality, if that would happen, she'd probably report him for sexual harassment.
Well, yeah, you're a secretary and someone's like, I'm
the owner of
Bruce
this
Wayne.
major business.
Right, okay, we're going to need more proof than just a name. And then he starts being like, do you know how to play golf?
This is all the proof you need, darling.
Yeah, starts putting your arms around you. Careful of your backswing. Like, leave me alone, you creep.
This just in, Bruce Wayne has been accused of sexual harassment by multiple members of staff at Wayne Enterprises.
The funny thing is, right, the whole Bruce Wayne persona thing, obviously defending Batman, he absolutely would have been accused of sexual
Probably
assault.
would, yeah.
That's a story.
Can you imagine that? Gordon calls Batman, "You need to stop Bruce Wayne. He keeps sexually harassing women."
Batman versus cancel culture. And we invite to the stand Selena Kyle.
Batman's in the room. "Just give me a moment. I'll find Bruce Wayne." He runs out, rushes the suit off, comes back in as Bruce Wayne. "I didn't do these crimes." Runs back out, puts the suit back on. "I know you did, Wayne."
Oh my god. What evidence do you have? Just some nut.
"Bruce, you're sweating profusely. What's wrong with you?" "Just give me a moment." Goes and puts the suit back on. Just passes out.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and Rutger Hauer's character says, "Bruce, you're supposed to be dead." And Bruce goes, "Sorry to disappoint."
What a line. So cool.
So I had a look of like Clint Eastwood on my face then.
Yeah. I'm going to reveal something now. We've had a little break. You might not have been able to detect it in the magic of editing.
Yes.
We had a little cake break.
Yes, we had some cake.
Had some nice cake, and I had a cigarette because I'm a dirty, dirty smoker. Ben came outside, and I'm sure that he was stood to my right. And I turned round to my right to try and talk to him, and he wasn't there. And I turned back to my left, and there he was, suddenly appeared. Very much in the vein of how Batman does that to Jim Gordon. I just thought that was very funny.
"I am the Knight."
Anyway.
So after that, we then get Lucius Fox's introduction.
Morgan Freeman.
Played by Morgan Freeman.
He's amazing.
He is great. He is really great as this character. They go into what I like to call the James Bond moment.
Yeah, where they're looking at all the tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just showing Bruce all of the really cool gadgets
Yeah.
that he can use.
We get the batsuit. Oh no, we don't. It's the grappling gun first, isn't it?
I believe so,
In
yeah.
the case.
Yeah.
Then we get the batsuit, which is like a military grade, and I like how like Bruce talks about like he's like, why did this never go into production? And
Yeah.
Lucius goes, because the government decided that a soldier's life wasn't worth 300 grand, which is a fairly logical and grounded way of saying that we have all this tech, but it's not mass produced. Which is why it's sort of perfect for Batman.
Yeah.
In a way, like there's an explanation to why all this stuff never got put into public or military use, which I think is interesting.
Yeah. I love it. Edited in between these moments with Bruce and Lucius, we see Bruce working in the lights in the Batcave. Turns them on. Alfred's like, "Charming." He sees all the bats and he goes, "At least you'll have company, sir."
Sassy Cockney Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I really love about this is they see there's a part of a building in the cave, and Alfred starts spewing out facts
Yeah.
about the building and where it comes from.
Yeah, and his great-great-grandfather being part of a railroad.
Yeah, I love that. And he says when your great-great-grandfather was fighting during the Civil War, he helped free slaves.
Yeah.
And he said, so I imagine that these... What is it? It's not an elevator. There's another name for it.
Like a mine shaft, lift shaft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's there going, so I'm assuming this mine shaft must have come in handy while he was using it to free the slaves. And I was saying, wow, so basically everyone in Bruce's bloodline are just really good-hearted, decent people who will always do the right thing.
Yeah.
And then you said...
It's like a birthright.
Yeah.
Almost. Like having good morals is sort of in the Wayne genetics and passed down.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Unless his great-grandfather before that great-great-grandfather was a total...
Maybe everyone's got a in the family.
There's always a black sheep.
Yeah. I also like in these moments where it was intercutting them, watching them build the Batcave. The first time we watched it together, you turned to me and said, how did they clean up all the bat? I just couldn't help but think of the second Ace Ventura movie,
Guano. I mean, yeah.
It's a fair question.
It's a fair question. How do they clean up all the bat?
The Batcave is really stinky.
Yeah. Does he hire a cleaner?
But then they know.
Unless it's this one particular cleaner who's sworn to secrecy.
Yeah. Or just Alfred.
Or just... Poor Alfred. He has to clean the entire Batcave.
Yeah. Him being a sassy Cockney queen is now justified.
Yeah. And then after that, we get the introduction to Arnold Flass.
Yes.
Who's played by Mark Boone Jr.
Yeah. Quickly before we move on, the cowl. They cover up all the purchases of certain equipment by ordering in bulk.
Oh, yeah.
A fantastic line. Well, at least we'll have spares.
Yes, sir.
Which is brilliant.
So yeah, Mark Boone Jr. plays Arnold Flass. And he plays him brilliantly because Arnold Flass is another very sleazy, slimy character who, even though he's a cop, he's clearly a dirty cop, but in the UK we call them bent cops.
Yeah.
And as I said, Mark Boone Jr. plays him really, really well. And I've only seen this actor in 2 movies. Batman Begins being one of them, and the other being a horror movie called 30 Days of Night, which is a vampire movie set in Antarctica when the sun goes down for 30 days, which happens once a year, and this little village is just overtaken by a gang of vampires. Both really good films. I'm sure he's done other things. I haven't seen him in a lot. But he's great in this. Great in this as Arnold Flass.
Yeah. It's really interesting that they decided to call him Arnold Flass. Like, they didn't have to call him this. He could have gone by a different name, because Arnold Flass is a character lifted out of year 1.
Yeah.
He is Jim's partner, so I suppose that's a connection that, makes sense. But in terms of resemblance, there's not much there. And in terms of action, besides from being a corrupt police officer, there's not really much to link him to the source material character. But it's a nice inclusion, and obviously this being so heavily inspired by year 1 in the first place, it's a nice connection.
Yeah. You said... Oh, yeah, there's something you said. So we see Bruce hiding on top of a building, and he's wearing a very, very early version of the Batsuit. The Batsuit is not yet complete. So he's wearing the suit, and he's having to wear a balaclava for now. And you said this was very similar to year 1.
Yeah, so this is sort of an amalgamation of 2 moments. Bruce's first excursion out before he becomes Batman, where he goes to like the seedy end of town,
Yep,
and takes on a pimp in the comics, and Selena Kyle's kind of watching, and that's how they kind of first interact. It's not like a 1-to-1 thing at all. It's quite heavily adapted, but the idea of him sort of going out on his first excursion, kind of unprepared, and very limited tech and that kind of thing, kind of inspired by that. And then there's another moment where it's his like kind of first fight in a fire escape, and there's these like kids, and I can't remember what the crime was, but they're in this fire escape, and Batman starts taking them on, and one of them nearly falls, and he like nearly completely it up and like gets caught like immediately and like gets like taken down. And there's this moment afterwards where he's sort of in the fire escape, sort of breathing heavily, and he's like he calls himself an amateur. Which I really like, which is parallel with this scene.
yes.
Both of those moments are sort of amalgamated together with this scene with Jim Gordon, where he first kind of goes to meet him.
I absolutely love this scene of Gordon's and Batman's first encounter with each other.
It's so good.
What's great is that Batman, he presses a stapler against the back of Gordon's head, making Gordon think that it's a gun. Because obviously, it's Bruce. Bruce knows that Gordon is a good man. He's a good cop. Obviously, he's not going to hurt him. He has no intention of hurting him. But he wants to give that illusion, because obviously he doesn't want to give away his identity. So he wants to give the illusion to Gordon that whoever this person is a threat and could potentially hurt him.
Yeah.
In order to get some information out of him. And he does. It does work.
Yeah, he asks. I think he asks for what would it take to bring Falcone down, and they'd need like leverage on Judge. I can't remember the name, but like some judge.
Yep.
And a few other people, and a DA brave enough to prosecute. And he's like, Rachel Dawes. Rachel.
Who are you? Watch for my sign. You're just one man. Now we are two.
That is so good, because there's 2 ways of interpreting that, because I don't know whether it's nowhere to, as in like, well, I'm everywhere, because the whisper seems to come from different directions, or there's the now where to, as in like, I was on my own, but now we're working together.
Yeah.
Like either way of interpreting it.
I think it is. I think it is now we are two, because obviously he's now created this other persona of Batman, to which Gordon's sort of staying there, and he's looking away, goes, we?
Oh, so like Bruce and Batman are the two that
Yes.
he's referring to?
Yes.
Oh, I see. That no.
Who did you think he...
Like him and Jim.
Oh!
Like now, because like now we're aligned.
Yeah.
I've told you that I want the same thing as you.
Yeah.
So now we're two.
Yeah.
Right, in this mission. That's maybe what I thought. But no, actually, that's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Okay.
And Gordon turns around and sees that Batman is trying to escape. Gordon manages to get to the top of the building. He's pointing his gun. He's going, freeze!
Yeah.
And Batman jumps off of the building, ends up crashing into another one, hurting himself in the process.
In the fire escape, which is why I say it links to like year one and that moment.
Now, I found this scene really funny.
Yeah.
I know it's not meant to be, but I couldn't help it. He jumps off, and I'm like, how is he not dead? How is he not broken a rib? Yeah. How is he not in agonizing pain to the point where he's screaming like a girl? Because for some reason, I couldn't help. As soon as he jumps off, I just couldn't help but think of him shouting, "Ah! I forgot. I'm afraid of heights."
Height man.
And then
Height man and Batman. Now we're two.
Hype Man sounds a bit camp. Well, now we're two.
Hi, I'm Hype Man. He'd do great on RuPaul's Drag Race.
And then an officer goes, "Who was that?" Gordon goes,
"Just some nut." What a great line.
I don't think we should talk further on it. I think if you know, you know.
What's that on your face?
Just some nut. Bruce then goes back to Fox.
Yeah. So the first thing he says is he wants to go spelunking, and that's why he gets the suit in the first place, and the grappling gun and stuff. But then he goes back and he says he wants to go base jumping.
Yep.
So he gets that fabric that reacts to an electrical current and then takes a shape when it has the current put through it.
Yeah.
Like, that makes so much sense. And I wrote in my notes here that like I love how every bit of tech has a really logical explanation to it. Like the grappling gun kind of speaks for itself. The suit was like, supposed to be really heavily armored, but the government said no because it was too expensive to produce. Then you've got the fabric which reacts to an electrical current, but again, I can see something like that being really expensive to produce, and like militaries saying, "Now we're not going to buy that."
Yep.
Even the tumbler, which we'll get to, has a logical explanation, and it all makes sense. That if you think about this as military grade tech in a combat scenario, a lot of it is really logical.
Yeah.
And like the science behind it as well. Like the fabric, you just apply an electrical current and it takes a shape.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And like it's so clear how Nolan thought all of this through, even down to the fabric that makes the wings.
Yeah.
Just wow. Kudos, man. Kudos.
Loads and loads of, intricate thinking and hard work, man. Hard work really does pay off. I really love the subtext between Fox and Bruce.
Yeah, there's this really... What's the line? If I don't know, I don't have to lie, but don't take me for an idiot, or something along those lines.
Because he clearly knows. He clearly knows...
Like, you're not using this for spelunking, and you're not using it for base jumping.
He's not stupid, but he can clearly tell that Bruce is a good person. And vice versa, Bruce can clearly tell that Fox is a good person. And so, without even saying anything, they just look at each other, and they're both on the same page. They're thinking, we can help each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, even as soon as Lucius Fox figures out exactly what Bruce is doing, that he's now becoming this vigilante, he's going around stopping crime, he's all for it. Because Lucius is he's one of the people who are sick and tired of how corrupt Gotham is.
Yeah.
And so he's probably thinking, thank God, not only is there someone wanting to stand up and do something, but it just so happens to be the richest man in Gotham.
Yeah. He's got the funds and the means and the physique.
Yeah.
To do it. Which is amazing. And then Bruce gets very distracted. He's like, "Oh, what's that?" It's the tumbler.
We get introduced to the Batmobile.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to ask you something. The tumbler is very much a breakaway from your stereotypical kind of Bat vehicle.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on it?
I absolutely love it. I think I'm trying to imagine what the Nolan films would have been like if they had a Batmobile very similar to the ones in the Tim Burton films.
Yeah. It's used a lot,
yes.
and it's got some size and weight to it as well, and it's all used to its absolute maximum ability. Like there's parts where it's driving through the streets and it's crashing through concrete, and but it's built to withstand that because it's military grade. And it's just so. While personally I do prefer the kind of traditional look of a Batmobile, like more like the animated series or the Burton films, the change is justified here because it makes sense within the script,
within the reality
yeah,
of the universe that Nolan was creating. It makes perfect sense because the Tumbler is quite similar to a tank.
Yeah, a black tank.
Yeah.
This is kind of going off on a bit of a tangent. I'm a big Lego fan, and what got me into Lego in the first place was the original run of the Lego Batman stuff in sort of like the early 2000s.
Yep.
And when this came out, it wasn't branded like The Dark Knight or like Batman Begins, but they did release a set that had the Tumbler. And like the Joker and Harley Quinn in an ice cream van, and it was like, like they could chase and stuff. And I really wanted that set because it just looked so cool, and I didn't even really know what the Tumbler was until seeing the film.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, that's really cool. And again, I still prefer like a traditional Batmobile, but like I really wanted it, and it was like one of the few Lego sets that I didn't buy, and I will forever regret that because it costs so much money now.
Yeah.
Sad times. If you want Lego, buy it early because it soars in price.
I used to have a toy of the Batmobile.
Yeah.
From the Nolan films when I was little. I used to play with it all the time when I was a kid, and I like looking back at it now. I was in awe of just how detailed it was because they really got it down to a T.
Yeah.
From
there's,
how it
there's
looks
a lot
in the
of
film.
like moving parts and angles and different bits. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember loving that when I was a kid.
I don't know. I think this is from like the Dark Knight behind the scenes docs that came on the DVDs when it first came out, that they made scale models and like remote control versions so that they could record it crashing through things and get the damage and like all the cool action chases and those kind of scenes.
Yeah.
Especially like aerial shots from above, like being chased by a police helicopter with these like remote control versions of it. So they must have had to scale it down and get the detail correct doing that as well, which is insane. I don't know whether they did it for Begins, but I know they did for Night. But yeah, again, so like they've made this huge version for people to act with, but then these scale versions to destroy things with and to drive, and what a cool job that must be, just driving around a remote control version of the Tumbler and crashing it through.
Amazing.
Hire me, please.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great day.
So we cut to Bruce. He's carving the little batarangs that he will go on to use.
Yeah, well, there's the cowl as well, and Alfred points out that it's like it's like very brittle and like smashes it on the table.
Yeah.
And he turns to her and goes, "I'd recommend avoiding landing on your head."
Yeah.
Sassy Cockney Queen.
Yes.
But he's making his batarangs.
Alfred approaches him and says, "Why bats, sir? Bats frighten me.
It's time my enemies share my dread."
Yeah. I lost where I was in my notes then.
Sausage. Beautiful line.
Great line.
Yeah. It's also really cool that he's making his own batarangs. He's very crafty. Maybe you should take up like knitting or crochet. Make a nice woolly jumper for the winter. Could knit Alfred a scarf for Christmas.
Anyway, we fade to later on, and Flash is with Falcone, and their men are... What is it they're shipping?
Drugs.
Drugs, that's it.
But like, so I imagine that it's like your stereotypical like Class A's, Class B's, cocaine, marijuana. I don't know. I don't really understand drugs. Calpol. I don't know.
Calpol.
Yeah, it's illegal paracetamol. So like they're shipping this in, and they're stuffed into like stuffed animals, like in the back.
Yeah. Rabbits. Tell me about the rabbits.
Well, there's teddy bears and there's rabbits, and Flash and Falcone have this little conversation about the rabbits go to a man in the Narrows.
Yep.
Which is Crane, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Now, this is the first mention of the Narrows, and I don't know the exact history of this, but it just kind of shows the kind of cultural impact on the source material that these films had, right?
Yep.
The Narrows didn't exist as a place in Gotham before these films came out, and Nolan sort of pioneered, and it might have existed in some form, but it didn't have a name.
Yeah.
The whole kind of this kind of shantytown part of Gotham, where the poorest of the poor live and a lot of the criminals reside, is the Narrows. And that got picked up by the comics, and it's in the comics now. It was in Gotham, the TV series. Like, the Narrows features quite heavily in a few seasons. And now, if you... Not that there is an official map of Gotham, unfortunately. I like that. I like looking at maps of, like, fictional places. I find it really interesting. And I don't think there is a very official one, not like released by DC by any means. There's one that people kind of widely accept, but on a lot of the more modern interpretations now, the Narrows pops up as its whole little district. And I just love that, like, this film was inspired by the source material that created this entire geographical location in Gotham, which it now appears on the maps that the comic writers use. And it just feels like it's all come full circle. It's so nice to know that, like, all these little things that Nolan has put into the mythos is now influencing the source material.
Yeah.
It's just really cool. And I just thought that was a nice little tidbit about the Narrows.
Yeah.
Yeah, worth mentioning.
So we see the men shipping the drugs, to which one of them gets yanked into a container and he's vanished, he's gone. And some of the men are looking in the direction, and this one really stood out to me. He's there going, "Hey, Stice." And I kept thinking, Stice has got a family. He's probably married, has kids. He's probably just trying to...
Getting into the backstory of Stice.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to earn his way to feed his kids. Poor Stice. Never see Stice again.
Maybe he died. Maybe Batman broke his no-kill rule with Stice.
Yeah, broke his neck by accident. Oh, sorry. I'm new at this.
Whoops.
And all of a sudden, all the lights go out, and one of the men finds the little batarang on the floor, and very cleverly shot. What the man behind him is looking up, and then he looks up, and they see Batman jump down and get them.
Yeah, from hanging upside down as well, which is really cool. And this entire sequence, I love that it's shot from the thug's perspective.
Yes, you said.
So you can see like gaps in between containers, and you might see something like fly in between, and like you can see like all the men like walking around like really tense, really anxious. And
it's like a horror film.
Yeah, I think I told the story in part 1 about how I didn't see anything to do with like any trailers or anything until I saw this at a friend's house, but I didn't see much of it because I had to go home for my tea because I was only a wee little kid. So I'd not seen this scene. So obviously after that I went to go and find the trailer, and I remember this moment features quite heavily in the trailer. Yeah. And thinking it looked absolutely terrifying. Yeah. And it does, and yes, it is shot like a horror film.
Yeah, because you know the main one of the main themes, as we've said in previous episodes, and obviously if you've seen the film, you'll know one of the main themes is fear. Yeah. And he literally says, before going to go as Batman, he says to Alfred, "Bats frighten me. It's time for my enemies to share my dread." Yeah. So it was genius deciding to shoot it from their perspective. Yeah. Because obviously they're not going to see it coming. They just see this black figure just rushing by and attacking. They're thinking, what the hell is that? To which it then leads to... Well, Flash notices that there's something wrong. Mm-hmm. He runs back to the car where Falcone is and he says, "Something's up. You better bail." Bale?
Christian Bale?
Oh, Christian Bale? Does the Bale pray? No, I'm joking. And then Batman drops... Sorry. Does the Bale pray? Sorry. Oh, I make myself laugh.
You're the only person you do make laugh. Yeah.
Batman, kidding. Batman drops in between all the men and starts fighting them. Now, we brought this up in the previous episode, or one of the previous episodes.
Yeah, I think it was part 1.
Yeah, where we were talking about how people have complained in the past about how this sort of caused, there was like a lot of shaky cam and you couldn't see what was going on. Now that I've watched it again and I've looked more carefully, I now disagree with the nostalgia critic completely, because he said in his review that there is a lot of shaky cam and you can't see what's going on. I disagree. I said in the last time that I disagree that you couldn't see what was going on. You could very clearly see what was going on. Yeah. Now watching it again and looking at it more closely, I now completely disagree that there is shaky cam. I don't think there is any shaky cam.
It's just edited really rapidly.
It's very fast editing because the camera is stable. Yeah. During it.
Yeah, because you went back and played it slowly. Yeah. To kind of confirm this. And yeah, it is just really tight editing. Like, it's shot, like, you know, quite rapid.
And as I said in the previous episode where we were talking about it, I said that it was very clearly a deliberate creative decision, because it's Batman coming out of the shadows, attacking where the thugs don't expect it. And so when he just jumps down at them out of nowhere by surprise and he's attacking them, they're going to turn around and they're not really going to see what the hell's going on.
It's going to kind of be a blur, like a swish of the cape or like a fist coming at them. They're not seeing much, and so it's edited again from their perspective, and that's why it's so rapid. And you might not be able to see like the entirety of Batman in that moment, but you're not supposed to.
No,
it's intended that way.
And this kind of annoys me, because I think, I'm not saying the Nostalgia Critic did this, but I know of some people who are like, no, we want to see it fully clearly. We want to see Batman fight. Yeah, all right, okay. But, as what Joel was just saying, the way that this fight scene was shot, Batman coming out of the shadows, catching them by surprise, and attacking them, where they're like, whoa, what the hell's going on? That is the point. Because Batman is this terrifying, luring figure that lurks in the shadows.
Yeah, even as far as when Falcone gets out of the car, or Falcone, you're going to correct me at some point, I know. Falcone gets out of the car.
Falcone.
Sorry. So he gets out of the car and he goes to see what's going on, and he sees Batman fighting all the thugs, and then just like watches for a moment, kind of in awe, like what the hell, and then leaves. And in that moment, we don't stay on Batman.
Nope.
We follow Falcone.
Yeah, you see quick flashes.
Yeah,
quick flashes of Batman fighting the thugs. So even then, you can tell that as Falcone's looking, he can't really tell what it is, but he can clearly tell that something is deeply wrong, that there's something there attacking his men. He's thinking, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Runs back to his car. His driver's been knocked out.
And he grabs a shotgun. And he's shaking like mad and heavy breathing. You can tell that he's
scared.
Which is the intention.
Yeah, absolutely. And Falcone loads the gun. He hears a noise coming from the top of his car. Loads the gun. He goes, what the hell are you? And then two fists punch through the car. He gets ripped out. And we get the very famous, I'm Batman.
Yeah, and now the I'm Batman moment is crucial for every actor who takes on the part.
Well, then, not every actor has done it.
No.
Keaton's done it.
Yeah.
Bale's done it.
Yeah.
Pattinson hasn't done it.
No.
Because he said, I'm vengeance. So I suppose it's kind of the
does
same.
The same thing. Kind of hits the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clooney did it, technically.
Sorry, yeah.
Hi, Freeze.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
Yeah, very badly.
Yeah. I don't think Kilmer did it.
No?
I don't think he did. No. Well, he did something along the line. I suppose at the end when he beats the Riddler and he goes up to him and he says, poor Enigma, you see, I'm both Bruce Wayne and Batman. Not because I have to be, because I choose to be.
Ah, okay.
So
no,
kind of.
No dissing to Kilmer, but for me, the I'm Batman moment needs to kind of take place in the middle of a film.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Burton's case, Keaton's I'm Batman moment happened very close to the beginning.
Yeah, but I mean, it's early or it's middle. If it comes too far in towards the end of the film, it's too late.
Unless it's an origin story like Begins. If you want to do another origin story where maybe throughout the film he doesn't really know what to yet call himself,
until
and
like
maybe
the final
at the
line.
end it's that final line. Maybe he's attacking some random thug. Who are you? I'm Batman.
Yeah.
What I've done. Cut to credits. Erase myself.
Calm down, man. Your music career's not taking off anytime soon, darling. Kudos for trying. I'm proud of you, but...
Sorry, I've seen a lot of memes recently where people go, when you realise the main character isn't dead at the end of the movie, and like a character will like open their eyes and it's that Linkin Park song that cuts to credits.
Yeah, no, funny. How do you think Bale's I'm Batman compares to the others?
I thought it was fantastic. I think this is one of those moments where I actually liked the Batman voice.
Yeah,
there aren't a lot.
It works in this moment.
It does work. I still love Keaton's.
I personally think in terms of live action, Keaton's is the best.
I personally think Bale's is better. But that's just me.
I will say the context surrounding it and the build up to it in Begins is better, but I prefer Keaton's sort of delivery, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like it's like a rite of passage that every Batman actor gets to do the I'm Batman moment and feel cool as
Yeah.
Like that you must feel such a like, I am Batman.
Did Adam West do it?
I hope so.
I know Conroy did it, but I believe he said the line exactly how it was written in the comics, saying the full thing, for I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman.
Yeah, which is beautiful. I imagine actually Kevin Conroy probably did that multiple times.
I wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to imagine Adam West doing it.
Go on, give us the rendition. Come on.
Well, I'm Batman, Robin.
Gee willikers, Batman.
Would you like some bat omelets? Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Dude, I did not know that advert existed until you mentioned it to me offhandedly.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen it now. That's so weird.
For those who don't know, back during the days of the Adam West Batman series, there was an advert for female equality in the workplace.
As if you need to advertise that. Just equality.
I know.
Different time, I suppose.
And Batman and Robin are tied up and there's a bomb around them and Batgirl comes in. And Adam West's like, quick, Batgirl, free us. No, Batman. Not until we sort out equality for all women. Women need equal pay. To which Adam West cuts her off and says, no time for jokes, Batgirl.
Who knew Adam West Batman was a f***ing anti-feminist?
Sexist as f***.
Yeah. What a...
My God!
No, but I really like Belle's I'm Batman moment. I think it's really cool.
Yes.
And I love that it's Falcone he's holding.
Yeah.
Who is, in comic terms for me, I mean, it depends on what canon you follow and what you accept in your personal headcanons and stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, Falcone is the first true villain.
Yes.
He's the first proper big shot threat that Batman has to deal with. So the fact that he's holding him up in the air and says, I'm Batman. Oh, so that sounded so sexual.
It's like... It's
just some nut.
Imagine if Christian Bale did, I'm Batman.
What are you doing?
Just some nut. He then headbutts Falcone, knocks him out, and we see the homeless man again with the really nice coat. To which Batman looks at him and says, nice coat. Yeah. And he flies off, and the homeless guy's like, thanks.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I like how like this is a very serious film, but like there's little moments of humor that kind of break the tension a little bit, and most of it comes from Batman and Alfred.
And I think that's to remind the audience that you are still, despite how realistic and dark it is, you're still watching a comic book film.
Yeah, like all of like Alfred's witty remarks, like "Don't land on your head," or we'll have to order like 10,000, at least we'll have spares, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Breaks the tension a little bit, and it is quite a funny script if you actually like take those moments in isolation.
It's definitely funny moments.
I just think it's really, really ballsy to have that really cool, really serious I'm Batman moment undercut with nice coat.
Yeah.
Like,
see, I think that makes it cooler.
No, I agree, but it took some, because that was risky. That might not have landed as well as it did.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've really got to trust your actors in that moment and the cinematography of it and all of that. And so that took some balls to undercut that moment, and power to you, because it's great.
Yeah.
And the joke elevates it.
I know. It's so good. We see Rachel. She's on a train. She's going somewhere, but she's being followed by a couple of thugs, and I think they're trying to mug her.
Yeah.
To which Batman...
It's been set up by Flass and Falcone.
Yeah. Falcone.
Falcone, fine. I swear you're correcting me which one I say. Please tell me in the comments if he is actually doing that and just being a
it's actually Falconoir.
A lot like Dauphinoise potatoes.
So, Batman attacks one of the thugs, scaring the other. Rachel's like, that's right, you better run. And she turns around and sees
Sorry, your delivery of that.
She turns around and sees Batman, and she's like, ah! And she tases him, but it hits the suit, not affecting him. To which I said, I don't know if that didn't work, if the suit didn't protect him.
Yeah.
He just gets electrocuted and dies.
No, we were saying earlier about Bruce Wayne being accused of sexual assault, and now in the Batsuit, he's just creeping up on women from behind. That's not okay, Bruce. It's a bit weird.
It's like, wait, Bruce, you're trying to be a superhero, but you're kind of a villain.
Yeah. He only saves the women.
Well, clearly he only saves the men because he keeps harassing the women.
Yeah. You're part of the problem, Bruce. Be a better man.
Cancel Batman. And then Batman tells her that Falcone sent them to kill her. And what is it? He wants her to send a message to Gordon.
Yeah, and start working on the case against like, the prosecution against Falcone.
And then she says, "Who are you?" And this is the one line in the film that I slightly cringed at. Just a little bit. I don't know if it's because of the way it was written or if it was because of Bale's delivery or both. But it's when he says, "Someone like you. Someone who rattled the cages." And just a little piece of me was just kind of like... Ugh.
See, I quite like that line.
It's not a bad line.
Is it just because it's in the voice?
I don't know, but I think maybe because of how it's written. I don't know. There was just that little part of me that couldn't help but cringe, just slightly.
I suppose it could have been worded differently. Someone will rattle the cages. Like someone will stir things up. Someone will, you could word that in any different way.
That's so British.
Yeah. I need you to stir things up, Rachel.
Was he from The Only Way is Essex? Who are you? Wouldn't you like to know, babes? Why don't you go f*** off and mind your own business, yeah? Alright, darling.
Oh, God. Batman loves in any reality TV show. Stick him out on Love Island. Big Brother.
Batman flies on Love Island. Yeah. Alright, I'm Batman, innit?
I actually think, weirdly enough, thinking about that in like doing a Batman-inspired episode of RuPaul's Drag Race would be pretty sick. That'd be pretty cool. So I've very recently got into RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm very late to that party. And it's actually quite good. The energy levels on it are at 11 and stay there, which is like something that the Council of Geeks talked about when they reviewed like drag. They talked about drag performances when reviewing the Doctor Who episode with Jinx Monsoon.
Yeah.
Which I agree with. Like, it is really heightened and you have to stay and keep that energy up. So I can't watch it all the time because my energy goes very quickly. Ben knows this.
Yeah.
But when I've got the energy for it, I'm really loving Drag Race right now. So please, just for me, do a Batman-inspired episode. I would love it.
Gordon and his men then find Falcone strapped to a massive light.
Falcone.
Falconoir.
Got him.
And Gordon looks at the sky, and the way Falcone is strapped to this light, it looks like the bat symbol. To which I wrote down, Falcone looks like Jesus.
Isn't it cool that they even give the bat signal an origin? It's not like they got to the end of the film and they're like, oh, well, but Jim's made the bat signal now.
Yeah.
Like, it actually has, like,
Well, it's like Bruce said to him when in their first encounter, where Gordon goes, "Who are you?" And Bruce says, "Watch for my sign."
Oh, and then he, makes the connection, obviously.
Yeah. And then Gordon's like, "Cut him down." And then it cuts to Batman on top of this extremely high building.
Yeah.
From the outside.
Yeah. And Ben said, how did he get up there?
How's he going to get down?
I think he just goes and does that to look cool. Because, like, he's served his
why,
purpose.
Why other purpose would he be on that building?
Yeah. Like he's stopped Falcone, Falconoir. Right? He's done his job now. Go home. Go sleep. Have a rest. But instead he's decided he wants to scale the building and just stand looking over Gotham, and I just imagine in his head he's going no.
He's playing his own theme song in his head. He's just there looking down over the city. No. And then as I pulled out the other part of his brain going, don't trip, don't trip, don't trip, don't trip.
Oh dear. But yeah, it's a cool shot.
It's a great shot. It's a great shot. It's very effective. But when you start thinking about the logistics of it,
how did they do that practically? Do you think they craned him up there?
Helicopter. Either that, or there was a way to get there from the inside of the building.
Oh yeah, okay, that would
possibly.
Make sense, yeah. How did he get there? Helicopter.
Okay, can you imagine if Nolan? There's like a walkie-talkie strapped to Christian Bale's suit, and you can hear Christopher Nolan obviously giving him direction, but somehow Nolan just leaves it on, and you can hear him being like, "How the f*** are we going to get him down?" I don't think he's going to make it, guys. I think this is going to go really badly. All right, Christian, just keep standing there. Just keep looking cool. Chris, you didn't turn off the walkie-talkie. Oh,
I don't think it would have been Christian Bale standing there. Surely not.
Well, it was in The Dark Knight.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Madness.
I mean, he's very method, so I'm assuming he likes to do...
Do you reckon he took down like some real-life criminal organisation to feel like a vigilante?
He actually became a vigilante.
Yeah. Dorset is safe from criminals.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman, me love.
Oi, I'm Batman.
Oi, you! Stop that crime!
Oh dear.
Then cuts to the scene the next morning where Alfred opens the curtains and we see Bruce in bed. He's got bruises all over him, and he says, "Bats are nocturnal." And Alfred is looking at his injuries. He goes, "If those are going to be the first of many injuries, you might want to have some excuse for it, like maybe polo."
I'm not learning polo, Alfred. Good. Do you know what? Right, I always say that Michael Caine is the funny one in that dynamic, but Bale has his equal share of funny lines.
He definitely has his humorous moments. Like there's the bit towards the end where he blows a massive hole in a prison cell, and he looks at the prisoners and he goes, "Excuse me."
Yeah. So he is really funny in this. I think.
Yeah. But Bale has done a few movies where he's really, really funny. American Psycho. There's moments in that where he's absolutely hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I rewatched that again recently, actually.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And yeah, he is very funny.
Yeah, definitely.
Why isn't it possible? It's just not.
Why not, you stupid... So Bale gets out of bed and he literally falls to the floor, lands on his hands and starts doing press-ups. But the way he falls and the way it's
framing
shot,
of it, yeah.
It looks like he just falls and face plants the floor.
What was that meme you were on about earlier? He falls. What I've done.
That's how it ends.
Yeah.
It just ends with Batman face planting the floor. I am the hero this city needs. Oh, what I've done.
It's a good meme. It's a good meme. There's been a lot of memes in this. Rachel! And just some not.
We'll get to the Rachel one a lot more when we actually get to that scene in another episode.
That one's my favourite. And at the end of this scene as well, while Bruce is doing his little push-ups, he says this great line, if you pretend to have fun, you might actually have some by accident. Sassy Cockney Queen.
Yes.
But do you know what? He actually kind of has a point, because when Bruce is adopting the playboy persona, he looks like he's enjoying himself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Alfred called it. He did.
And I think we will leave it there.
Yes. Join us for the next part. We did not expect going into this that this was going to take so many parts, but there's so much to say.
There is so much to talk about.
We love this film and we respect everyone who worked on it. And the actors, Christopher Nolan, so we really want to do this justice. So we're going to go through it very thoroughly.
Yes.
And thank you for being patient with us, and thank you for listening, because if you've made it this far, you've listened to quite a lot of us talking about Batman Begins.
Always, if you've listened to our episodes, if you've liked any of the episodes, if you've subscribed to our channel, if you've followed our Instagram, that is support that we appreciate on a massive scale.
Yes, absolutely. If you could do me the great courtesy of telling us what the actual pronunciation is, Falcone or Falcone, or Falconoir.
Right, but I don't think there is an official pronunciation, because in the Nolan ones it's Falcone. But in the Batman ones with Robert Pattinson, it's Falcone.
We will let the listeners decide.
So I don't know who's right or wrong.
And what's your favourite I'm Batman moment as well? Let us know. We'd like to hear that.
And a bit later down the line, we might put on our Instagram a little poll for you guys to give us suggestions as to what films you might like us to review in the future.
Yeah, we've got a few in the pipeline that we've been musing on, but we want to hear from you.
Yes.
So please, if you see the poll, please take a vote and make some suggestions. We'd really appreciate that.
And we will see you in a couple of weeks with part 4.
Take care.
Take care, my loves.